This is Dr. Robert Norman talking about the brain-skin connection. This is from our Center for Neurodermatology. We investigate the interaction between the brain and the skin in relationship to disorders such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, autism, melanoma, neurodermatitis, and other neurocutaneous diseases. Our goal is the translation of skin-brain research into effective behavioral strategies that prevent disease, promote healing, provide treatments, and enhance well-being across the lifespan. Stimulation to the skin through touch enhances neurogenesis, the proliferation of new brain cells and neuronal connections throughout life. A 1986 study noted that massaged preterm infants gained 47% more weight than non-massaged infants, were more socially responsive, and were discharged 6 days earlier from the hospital. Fortunately, I've witnessed the deleterious effects of poor parenting, with infants showing failure to thrive and other debilitating problems due to a lack of parental touch. Some of the most powerful stories ever told about touch deprivation are included in the 2014 book, Romania's Abandoned Children by Nelson, Fox, and Zena. The book explores the implications of early experience for children's brain development, behavior, and psychological functioning in the realm of the 1989 fall of Romania's Ceausescu regime that left approximately 170,000 children in 700 overcrowded, impoverished institutions across Romania, and prompted the most comprehensive study to date on the effects of institutionalization on children's well-being. The book details the devastating toll paid by children who are deprived of responsive care, social interaction, stimulation, and psychological comfort. Launched in 2000, the Bucharest Early Intervention Program, or project BEIP, included a rigorously controlled investigation of foster care as an alternative to institutionalization. As noted, researchers included 136 abandoned infants and toddlers in the study and randomly assigned half of them to foster care created specifically for the project. The other half stayed in Romanian institutions, where conditions remained substandard. Over a 12-year span, both groups were assessed for physical growth, cognitive functioning, brain development, and social behavior. Data from a third group of children raised by their birth families were collected for comparison. The study found that the institutionalized children were severely impaired in IQ and manifested a variety of social and emotional disorders, as well as changes in brain development. However, the earlier an institutionalized child was placed into foster care, the better the recovery. Let's talk about isolation. Literature is filled with stories of feral children raised in isolation. And there was an experiment that was allegedly carried out by Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II in the 13th century. This took infants and raised them without human interaction in an attempt to determine if there was a natural language that they might demonstrate once their voices matured. Frederick claimed he was seeking to discover what language would have been imparted into Adam and Eve by God. The experiment failed. The babies grew up to speak no language because they all died due to lack of touch. Today, we often call this failure to thrive for various reasons. And specifically, let's talk about the famous Harry Harlow monkey love experiments. McLeod in 2020 wrote an excellent article covering this. Harlow in 1958 wanted to study the mechanisms by which newborn rhesus monkeys bond with their mothers. These infants were highly dependent on their mothers for nutrition, comfort, and socialization. What exactly, though, was the basis of the bond? The behavioral theory of attachment would suggest that an infant would form an attachment with a caregiver that provides food. In contrast, Harlow's explanation was that attachment develops as a result of the mother providing tactile comfort, suggesting that infants have an innate or biological need to touch and cling to something for emotional comfort. He did a number of studies on attachment in rhesus monkeys during the 1950s and 60s. His experiments took several forms. One of the experiments went like this. He separated infant monkeys from their mothers immediately after birth and placed them in cages with access to two surrogate mothers, one made of wire and one covered in soft, terry toweling cloth. In the first group, the terry cloth mother provided no food, while the wire mother did, in the form of an attached bottle, a baby bottle containing milk. Both groups of monkeys spent more time with the cloth mother, even if she had no milk. The infant would only go to the wire mother when hungry. Once fed, it would return to the cloth mother for most of the day. If a frightening object was placed in the cage, the infant took refuge with the cloth mother. The surrogate was more effective in decreasing the youngster's fear. The infant would explore more when the cloth mother was present. This supports the evolutionary theory of attachment, and that is the sensitive response and security of the caregiver that is important, as opposed to the provision of food. Although the ethics of Harlow's work has been questioned, his research has helped social workers to understand risk factors in child neglect and abuse, such as a lack of comfort, and therefore provide intervention to prevent further problems. Now, using these animal studies to study attachment can benefit children that are most at risk to society, because when we see the effect of intervention, it can have later economic implications as well, because these people and these children are more likely to grow up to be productive members of the society once they've had the intervention. And here are some of the references listed here. Our next discussion will be on hairlessness and the study of brain size. You heard me right. Stay tuned.